as you know, we looked at what the implications and ramifications of Tianmei's World Academy's business model on each SDG, how these can be strengthened, and how audience outreach can be expanded in Australia. So Tianmei's World Academy business model revolves around a network of classrooms, school concept, and primarily addresses the Sustainable Development Goals, or the SDGs, or the SDG rather, of quality education. The SDGs were built by the United Nations and countries as a call for action to achieve 17 goals by 2030. TMWA contributes to these 17 goals by nurturing its surrounding environment and presenting a range of programs. So first of all, we're looking at SDG for quality education. So this aims to provide an equitable and qualitative education. So for TMWA, this combines physical and social environment to produce personal abilities, work productivity, personality, and learning outcomes. There are a variety of programs like an online reading camp and improving language skills, and a one-on-one language and self-awareness mentoring, which allows someone to enhance language skills and at the same time recognize strengths. So with a learning environment that can be created in any space, it is important for students to recognize these equitable opportunities. As well as this, there is also SDG 13 climate action. So currently investment in fossil fuels is still higher than investment in climate activities. This also intensifies the frequency and severity of natural disasters, according to the UN. For SDG 13, strengthening resilience and adaptive capacity for buildings for natural disasters is important. For TMWA, they can make sure all buildings are natural disaster proof and invest in climate activities and promotion. TMWA focuses heavily on 13.3 to improve education on climate change mitigation, impact reduction, early warning, and adaptation.
So the remainder two SDGs are gender equality and decent work and economic growth. So for SDG 5, the World Academy can help end all forms of discrimination, violence against all women and girls by using their schooling programs and environmental psychology, which is the core focus of TMWA. So equal opportunities for women for leadership at all levels of decision-making in economic, public, and political life could be implemented into education programs in the consultancy. And also the use of information and communications technology could help to promote the empowerment of women. And the last SDG that we look at is decent work and economic growth. So via a source, sustainable economic growth was seen as not to be achieved because of overregulated labor markets, globalization, etc. However, TMWA is aiming to turn the space around them into an alternative classroom and hence driving economic growth. And then looks into SDG 12. So this one is ensuring sustainable consumption and production patterns, which is also being promoted within TMWA's pivoting project, which repurposes fundraising through a social enterprise business model, creating more value and less money in order to become financially viable. So these products that TMWA undertake can similarly be undertaken in other countries to target these SDGs, like Australia. Sorry, go ahead.
So for the method, we had a total of 22 participants, and our sampling method was done with a survey using Qualtrics. The questions that had been prepared for the survey focused on the learning environment and SDG for education, while also giving the participants opportunities to expand on their answers. The two types of questions, scalar and open-ended, present independent and dependent variables for us to evaluate. These questions have been created to explore the participants' own feelings about the education and the learning environment in general. These questions are aimed at the target audience with the intent to be representative of the target population.
So the results that we looked into were the first category of SDG 5, the gender equality. 3 questions were asked in terms of this. The first one is, did you attend a co-ed high school? Second, do you think this affected your learning in any way and how? And 3, do you prefer same-sex or co-ed learning environments and why? All right, so first of all, 15 participants attended a co-ed high school out of a total of 20 participants, and more than half of them felt that this did not affect their learning, as you can see in figure 1. In total, only 2 participants felt that their learning was affected negatively, and reasons provided in figure 3 were very negative experiences, which would be such as experiencing bullying and also seeing active cases of sexual assault in their school. Common answers for positive learning in a co-ed high school are mainly around emotional, social, and interpersonal development. Participants who did not attend a co-ed high school felt their learning was positive because they were able to focus better. However, those who were neutral either thought the learning in either high school would be the same, didn't matter, or didn't know. Question 6 addressed if participants preferred a same-sex or co-ed learning environment. The largest preference of 14 was given to a co-ed learning environment, and it was expected that most of the participants would be from a co-ed high school as well. Those who did not attend a co-ed high school preferred a co-ed learning environment over a same-sex learning environment, compared to one participant who attended a co-ed high school and preferred a same-sex learning environment. The next SDG is decent work and economic growth. The first question is, how do you feel your current abilities would affect your employability or job retention? And the second one is a hypothetical. So imagine you earn $60,000 a year and you are happy at your current job. You have been offered a new job which pays $70,000 a year, but requires you to undertake a boring and extensive learning process to attain new skills. Would you stay with your current job or switch to the new job, and why? Responses in figure 4 were varied, but overall there was a large amount of positivity towards employability and job retention. Answers of concern relate to negative answers of limited experience and mental negativity like anxiety and being self-doubting their own abilities. Question 8 was aimed to gain an understanding between decent work and economic growth. In figure 5, 13 participants chose to move to the new job with common reasons of growth, constant learning, and better pay, as described in figure 6. 5 participants chose to stay at the current job, prioritizing their happiness and comfort. 2 participants who were neutral were doubtful about career growth and happiness in the new role, but most participants who decided to stay or move to the new job also provided reasons why they would choose the other category. For example, if they stayed in a new job, if they stayed in their current job, why they would actually go to a new job, and if we're changing to a new job, why they would also stay at the current job.
All right, and then we move on to SDG 13, climate action. So the questions we had for this were 1, how concerned are you about climate change? 2, what do you do to sustain the environment, with examples? 3 was a hypothetical. You've been given an opportunity to work on an environmental project with the United Nations and can advise on how to combat climate change. What is the idea? 4 asks if they had any difficulties thinking of an idea for that question and why. And 5 was another hypothetical where you imagine you're in a powerful position to help stop climate change. You can either start a national project right now or increase funding in schools focused on climate change. What would they do and why? So question 10 asks how concerned participants were by climate change. Their responses were measured using a Likert scale from 0, not concerned, to 10, very concerned. The results showed the majority were either very concerned or concerned, with 15 of the participants choosing 7 or higher as their answer. This question also shows males were less likely to be concerned about climate change, as all 3 zeros, the 4 and the 5, all came from males, while all the women scored it at a 7 or higher. Question 11 asks what participants do to sustain the environment through an open-ended question. 15 of the 22 participants actively try to sustain the environment, or 2 either do so accidentally or through convenience, and 5 did not at all. This suggests most of the participants are active in how they try to sustain the environment and are willing to adapt to changes to help the environment. Question 12 asks participants what they would do if they were asked to work on an environment project of the United Nations to help combat climate change. The participants express in majority a desire to want to help with this project. However, out of the 22 participants, 6 of them were either not sure, did not answer the question, or had some sort of disdain in their answer. Most of the answers focus on how waste and emissions can be dealt with better. While question 13 asks participants whether they had difficulties answering the previous question. Of the 22, 7 said yes, 9 said no, and 6 were either unsure or did not answer. The participants who answered yes said so because they said it was such a big scope and they had not considered it before. The participants who answered no said so because they are educated more on the matter and had ideas which they wanted to share, which they had thought of. Question 14 asks participants whether they would either start a national project or increase funding in schools to help stop climate change, what they would do and why. Of the 20 participants who answered this question, 10 said they would start a national project, 5 said they would increase funding and teach it in schools, while 5 said they would take an approach to try and do both at the same time. So then we move on to SDG for quality education. So question 1, do you feel that your degree is inclusive to your, for your learning requirements, and how? Is there anything missing from your education environment, and why? How do you best understand learning? Imagine your learning environment was outside of the classroom and instead was located at a local cafe or park. Do you think this will benefit you? If yes, how? And what soft skills do you think could increase your employability? So for question 15, it asks participants whether they felt their degree was inclusive for their learning environments and how. The participants who said their degree is somewhat inclusive said that degree either lacks the practical experience needed or the theoretical side wasn't great enough. The 3 who said no said so either because they feel it gives them a lack of field experience, there is a lack of classes, or there are applications which are gained after they have finished their course. Question 16 asks participants if there is anything missing from the education environment. 10 of those who said yes said the content needs to be better, while 4 of them said the experience of the education environment could be improved. Of the 6 who answered no, only 1 gave a reason, saying the recent changes to remote learning have benefited them. Question 17 asks participants how they best understand learning. Of the 19 participants who answered, there were many answers. These range from face-to-face to visual to learning, which is more hands-on. Question 18 asks the participants if their learning would be benefited if their learning environment was not in the classroom and instead was located at a local cafe or park, for example. Of the 19 who answered, 8 said yes, 11 said no, and 2 said it would make no difference to them. As you can see, with most of these graphs as well, the ones who tend to be more positive in their answers are females rather than males. So question 19 asks the participants what soft skills they think could increase their employability. Of the 19 participants who answered, 5 of them said communication skills. 5 said answers relating to personal skills they could develop. 3 said answers related to empathy. 2 said management skills. 2 said emotion control. 1 said skills in programs like Microsoft Excel, and 1 said they were not sure.
All right, so now to our discussion. In regard to SDG 5, Tamron argues that gender parity may be a part of gender equality, meaning that an equal participation of boys and girls in gender-friendly schools could provide equal opportunities for both genders, especially for females. The learning environment that 14 out of 20 participants favored of a co-ed environment shows that gender is a huge factor in determining a positive learning environment. So in regards to TMWA's business model, which revolves around learning environments, take into account the factors of, for example, people relationship, social and culture, which strongly relate to how we perceive the people around us. A key instrument in receiving the SDGs is the UN Decade for Education for Sustainable Development, which raises the point that solely environmental knowledge will not change behavior to attain a sustainable lifestyle. So what this means is that in addition to being aware about sustaining the environment, a person's behavior also needs to change to promote sustainability. In regards to SDG 8, the data shows that students endeavour to undertake more activities while studying to gain skills that can give them a higher chance of employability. And so soft skills are desirable by students and work experience provides us, along with a higher chance of late labour market success. Other than a work experience perspective, students who express their current abilities to derive from outside of their work and degree could link this to Kolb's work on conversational learning. This is explained as meanings and experiences transformed into knowledge which are constructed through conversations. So conversations that people have in any environment can then be transformed into knowledge. TMWA's business model focuses on environmental psychology, where the working environment and living environment mutually influences the learning and home environment. So therefore, conversations can be taken to be an integral factor in this model, relating to factors such as language, people, relationship, and social. Although from the data, 13 participants chose to move to the new job in question 8, it is important to consider the 5 participants who chose to stay at the current job to prioritize their happiness and comfort. Economic growth is important, but it may come second to the satisfaction of basic needs. Basic needs are a primary focus in TMWA's business model, which also include the factors such as work productivity to be mutually influenced with other factors. Learning in a work environment may not be achieved at the full potential if basic needs like happiness and comfort are not met.
Regarding climate action, the results of the survey showed that participants were very concerned about climate change and are willing to help combat it and have ideas which could help with that. It can be inferred from the answers to question 11 that women who are at university are more likely to care about climate change than men who are at university. From the answers to question 12, it can be inferred that most of the participants are knowledgeable and thoughtful regarding how the world can deal with climate change better, whether it's looking at a global context, such as what countries can do to help, or through education where the effects of climate change and what can be done can be taught in schools. So the answers to question 13, it can be concluded most participants are very aware and active regarding ideas which could be useful at either a local, national, or international level regarding climate change. And from question 14, participants showed a willingness to want to do something to help stop climate change, either through short-term solutions, such as starting a project to help with immediate change, or through long-term solutions, such as systemically teaching about climate change and its effects better in schools. Regarding quality education, the results of the survey show that participants were evenly split in how they learn, which can infer it is a personal preference as to what works best for them. Regarding question 15, the participants are split on this question. Half feel their degrees are inclusive, while the other half feel more needs to be done to give them more experience or more content in their units. In question 16, it can be inferred that the participants who feel there is something missing from the education environment have a reason and can explain what it is and how it is affecting them, while those who answered no do not need to think of what is missing, as they feel nothing is, so they do not provide a reason. Regarding question 17, it can be seen there are a wide range of ways people learn, even if they are the same age and live in a similar environment to each other. From question 18, it can be inferred that the participants are torn, and it is again down to personal preference as to whether their learning environment, being outside of a classroom, would benefit them or not. Regarding question 19, this shows participants feel there are a large range of soft skills which could help them increase employability, and the one each feels they need to work on is personal to them.
The significant findings regarding gender equality found that most participants did not find that the gender around them affected their learning environment. However, most did choose to learn in an environment with both males and females, rather than just the one gender. The significant findings regarding decent work and economic growth found that most students were confident in retaining a job and also would take opportunities when possible to learn new skills. In particular, taking up opportunities to learn new skills was mostly agreed to as long as it provided career growth and happiness. A pay raise was a small factor in considering the rewards available to them, but the minority, which was staying at the current job, also proved that happiness and comfort were strong indicators of remaining in the current job. The significant findings regarding climate action through this report is that most participants were active in stopping climate change and either do things in their everyday life consciously or subconsciously to stop it, or having big ideas on how it can be stopped better. It can be deduced from this that more needs to be done regarding both education on climate change in schools, as well as more which can be done at a local, state, national, and international level to help with this issue. The significant findings regarding quality education through this report is that students are split on whether their learning environment is inclusive and if there is anything missing from their learning environments. This was also shared in whether it would be beneficial for them to have their learning environment be outside the classroom. Furthermore, the soft skills which students find useful also vary, which complements the results finding each student learned differently, hence the split in the thoughts regarding the previous questions about quality education. The females were more positive towards all ideas put forward in the survey. Therefore, there would be more of an ideal target audience than males for TMWA. However, there may be educational steps which would be undertaken to convince more males of the importance of the TMWA concept and the ideas of the SDGs. The implications of these findings for Tianmei World Academy and the business model are that the students are mostly open-minded about new learning experiences and are also very knowledgeable about the ideas of SDG 4 and 7, which TMWA focuses on. To strengthen these two SDGs, targeting those who have a passion for the environment and for quality education and creating programs here with assistance would be beneficial. Females rather than males would be an ideal target audience. However, perhaps through more education, males could be more informed and be interested in these programs too. Finding local, state, or national groups in Australia to focus on these aspects through the company's business model and working together with them to bring together like-minded people could help to create an ecosystem of learning where these issues can be discussed to inform not only Australian students, but also the companies or the clients TMWA works with. This would also help strengthen TMWA's commitment to these two SDGs and expand audience outreach in Australia by connecting with students who are passionate about the issues of quality education and the environment. This ecosystem could then further inform a company practice, help to create more projects to strengthen the commitment to these SDGs and influence others to start thinking about these issues. For the companies, TMW could be a consultancy too in Australia, They could range from environmental businesses to schools and universities, to parks, cafes, and other places where the practices of TMWA can be undertaken. So by doing this, TMWA can share their message with Australian students, particularly females, groups and businesses, that learning happens anywhere, and can also stress the importance of the SDGs through this practice. In regards to SDG 5, TMWA could use this data to be proactive in choosing learning environments that contribute to an equal share of males and females. The elements of gender equality within a classroom concept could be focused on to examine issues that participants identified that might be common in school environments. A case study that was found, undertaken by Idora and Keller, examined the collaboration of Indian and Austrian students in regards to their perspectives on gender equality and sustainable growth. Projects of collaboration like this can increase awareness of SDGs and also change students' or clients' evaluation of topics. And also further projects and workshops can then be identified within context of gender equality. In regards to SDG 8, a healthy work environment was identified as a strong indicator of job satisfaction. So those feelings of happiness and comfort could be represented through different learning environments of TMWA's business model to support students or clients in maintaining a decent work environment. In particular, opportunities to learn new skills were linked to career growth and happiness. So workshops on improving the psychology and image of work environments could provide clients with a better understanding of what future employees, like for example, graduates, look for.
The survey was initially a focus, but due to time restraints, we've shifted our focus to supporting research on our results of the survey. The survey is being undertaken for additional support and is not a core part of the research. Due to the participants not completing the full survey, out of the 27 responses received, the analysis for the SDGs 5 and 8 used the best 20 responses, while SDGs 4 and 13 used the best 22 responses. The survey is only a validation of the business model being assessed. In addition, a larger sample size of the target population is recommended to gain a better understanding of the Australian context. This report is limited to the target population of students, and clients of TMWA range from all individuals to larger groups like businesses. An analysis of all 17 SDGs will greatly support the business model in their endeavors to expand their audience. Furthermore, implementing the ideas outlined in 4.2 could help strengthen TMWA's commitment to the SDGs and expand audience outreach in Australia. And that's it.